Brian. Deputy Heydon.
Thanks, Chair, and thank the Minister and his officials for coming in before us on what is a very important topic. Minister, it's been mentioned at a committee about the productivity levels in the construction sector, something I've talked to you about before in relation to our ambitious plans around the National Development Plan. I'm mindful of the fact that a construction sector group was established by the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform to look at the productivity challenges in the construction sector. Have you any update for the committee on the work of this group and any of the outcomes of its work so far?
Yes, I mean the key area that we're working on is the development of a project in relation to building information management, what's called BIM, and what this is developing computer modelling of big projects that are due to be delivered, and using this to try to reduce the cost of that project then when it actually goes to be built. On page 35 of the Summer Economic Statement, we also outline other things that have been done in relation to us. And probably the main area that we are looking at the moment is what can be done to increase the level of skill within the construction sector at the moment to in turn influence the level of productivity. The work that we have done would indicate that productivity levels for construction are 24% below the European average at the moment here in Ireland. And affecting that and improving that is one of the ways in which we will address the output of that sector.
Okay, thanks for that. The Summer Economic Statement raises awareness of the implications of a hard Brexit, but in relation to other external threats to the economy, are they being factored in? Particularly, I think of the likes of issues around trade. So we have President Trump's comments yesterday regarding potential view of trade with the EU into the future, and maybe I know Mercosur it's in the news at present. It's a longer term element, but do you see challenges or possibilities in the area of trade? And when you think of the challenges that will happen to trade if in a disorderly Brexit, maybe you might have a comment to make on that.
Yes, I do, but and this is the reason why, if you have a look at the growth outlook that we have for our economy, what we are doing is changing that growth outlook over time, and we're indicating that over time we will have an economy that will grow more around the 3% figure, 2.5% to 3%, as opposed to the far higher rates of growth that we have seen in our recent past. Just to make the point that if the economy is growing at 2.5% to 3%, that would still be a level of economic growth that, if sustained over time, has the ability to make a hugely positive impact on living standards within our economy and would be ahead of the long-term average of growth in Ireland.
Okay. The Stability Programme update outlines a reduction in the gross debt of 8.4 billion in 2020. How realistic is this?
In terms of the level of reduction of our
gross debt?
I think it can certainly be achieved, Deputy, if we move into a position where we are running surpluses. That can have a very big effect on the level of debt that we have in our economy as a percentage of national income. But the key thing is that for that level of surplus to be sustained over time. Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, Chair, just look, the committee has heard much commentary regarding the economy approaching full capacity and that we could be heading into a period of overheating, as has been touched on here. And obviously a disorderly Brexit would stop that happening. But in terms of overall strategy for the economy, if it does overheat, do you accept the fact that we potentially could be facing full capacity, or do you believe there's ability to grow capacity within the economy further? What possibilities are there about trying to grow capacity rather than just accepting that we need to put brakes on to maintain potentially pour cold water?
Yeah, I think in the context if Brexit were not to happen, or if it were to be an orderly Brexit, or if it were to happen at a later point in time, the two things that we would then need to look at would be how we can improve the capacity of the people, of the capital, of the land that is present here in our country. It would not be all about how do we restrain growth. It would be also about how do we make better use of the resources that are available to us. I think in particular, the main opportunity that we would have there would be in relation to the level of underemployment that we still have in particular parts of our country. And that's why the work that Minister Sapone is doing in the National Childcare Plan, I believe, is important for social and economic reasons. And then the use of land would be then even more important. And that's why I believe the work of the Land Development Agency over time can make a difference. So it would have to be a mixture of two things. It would be making more of what we have, while also be careful that we are not putting in place decisions that are likely to stimulate any further inflation within the economy.
Okay. If I could actually ask...
Yeah, you still have some time.
One further question. Thanks for the answer on that. I suppose we've seen a difficult number of months where your department is dealing with a number of pressures on the public sector pay side and demands from that side, whether it's our defence forces, whether it's HSE staff and beyond. In broad macro terms, how key is the public sector stability agreement to our future economic growth, and any comments you have on that?
It's crucial. How we manage public sector pay is the single largest section of total current expenditure. Any change in our public sector wage bill that affects everybody else in our public service has a really, really big effect on the total level of current expenditure within our economy. In terms of the issues and debates that we are having to date, for example, there is one currently underway now in the Labour Court at the moment, just to acknowledge that, and work underway in relation to healthcare assistance. All I will say is that in relation to our current agreement, as we approach halfway through the 3-year agreement, the changes and payments that we have made, that we are making available to the vast majority of our public servants, are unchanged versus what we assumed inside that agreement. So when we were putting together this agreement, assumed a certain level of wage increase on certain timings, outside of the changes that we are due to make with those who are nurses. And this is why the new nursing contract will be so important. The changes that we have made with everybody else are planned and inside the planned budgetary parameters.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister.